Have you ever wondered why the past continues to haunt you, even though you've tried to forget it? The painful memories, the mistakes, the losses, they seem to cling to you, prolonging the suffering, even though time has passed. So why do things that are already gone still have such a powerful hold on the present? And is there a way to break free from these haunting memories? In Buddhist philosophy, letting go is not a simple act, but a refined art, a process of liberating the soul from the invisible chains of the past. You may feel the weight of these memories, but unless you learn to loosen your grip, you will remain bound by them. Today, perhaps more than ever, we face a world full of tension and inner conflict. Stress from work, relationships, and even from our own thoughts. Meanwhile, society often emphasizes success and progress, rarely mentioning the importance of letting go. Buddhism teaches us that everything is impermanent, and it is this impermanence that offers us the chance to release our attachments. But how do we achieve this? There is an old story about a monk who found peace after many years of meditation. He was not a physically strong or resilient man, but he had the ability to overcome his inner challenges. He understood that suffering does not come from the external world, but from our reactions to it. The things that hurt us only cause pain if we cannot let go of them, if we cannot see them clearly. Ego is a fundamental part of every human being. However, when the ego becomes too dominant, it becomes a major obstacle to letting go. Buddhism teaches us to recognize the ego, not to abandon it, but to understand its nature so it no longer controls us. Only when the ego ceases to dominate can we truly be free. But how do we recognize and transcend the ego? First, we must realize that everything from thoughts to emotions is transient. Buddhism teaches us that because everything changes, we should not cling to anything. But this is not easy. Many of us fear change, especially the changes within ourselves. Have you ever felt that way? The fear of facing parts of yourself that you don't want to see? That feeling is like an invisible wall surrounding your soul, preventing you from moving forward. But only when you face that fear, only when you dare to confront the memories, the mistakes, can you truly free yourself. Once we recognize the ego and its attachments, the next step is to learn to let go. Buddhism teaches us that everything arises due to dependent origination, and when the conditions for something end, it naturally disappears. This applies to suffering, to unwanted memories. We simply need to relax our minds and no longer let these things control us. However, letting go is not an immediate act. It is a process, one that lasts throughout our lives. Along the way, there will be times when you feel pain, when old fears resurface, but what matters is that you do not let them take control. You must remember that letting go does not mean giving up, but rather allowing everything to flow naturally without resistance. Buddhism teaches us to look deeply into the nature of all things. Everything has both good and bad aspects, but when we let go, we no longer allow them to control us. We can view everything from a different perspective, not clinging, but simply letting things pass. And when you truly let go, you will feel a gentle release in your heart, as if you've cleansed your soul of the burdens of the past. It is a wonderful feeling of freedom, like a bird soaring high in the sky, no longer bound by invisible chains. When one truly lets go, it is not just about abandoning material possessions or relationships, but about releasing the heavy psychological burdens and wounds that have been carried deep within the soul. These wounds may not always be visible, but they exist within, shaping how one perceives the world, how one faces fear and failure. The feeling of release is one that few truly understand until they experience it. But those who have realize that everything in life is transient. The suffering they face does not come from the outside, but from their own responses. Every pain carries within it a lesson, an opportunity for growth and change. But if we do not have the ability to let go, if we are caught in negative thoughts and feelings, we will never learn that lesson. The soul will remain shackled to the past, to memories that we cannot release. And it is in these moments that we cannot truly live in the present. In Buddhist philosophy, the concept of ego projection plays a central role in understanding how to let go. Our ego, that sense of I, is something we are all deeply attached to. We protect it, feed it, and often let it define who we are. However, it is precisely this attachment to the ego that leads to suffering. Pain does not come from external things, but from the desire to hold on to them, from the fear of losing the I. Imagine a person who spends their entire life living in the shadow of their own self-image. Every step they take depends on receiving validation from others. Every decision is shaped by the ego. They are not free, they cannot experience true peace within themselves. To truly let go, they must learn to release these self-affirmations, these identities they have created to feel safe and confident. Buddhism teaches us that the ego is a construct, an idea created by the mind, and it cannot remain forever. In fact, the ego is not an eternal entity, it is a temporary flow of thoughts and experiences. When we realize that the I is just a reflection, a shadow in the mind, we can loosen our grip and become free. This understanding is not something that can be grasped easily or immediately. It requires a long journey of self-awareness and self-examination. It is only when we begin to observe and understand our thoughts, our feelings, and our perceptions without clinging to them that we can truly free ourselves. And this is why those who practice Buddhism often dedicate time to meditation, a practice that helps cleanse the mind, let go of negative thoughts, and reconnect with the true nature of self. In meditation, you are not just quieting the mind, but learning to observe your thoughts, your emotions, and your perceptions without becoming attached to them. You will realize that the painful thoughts are just passing clouds in the sky, not the essence of who you are. When you recognize this, you will begin to feel a sense of freedom within yourself, no longer controlled by negative thoughts or the ego. This release is not just mental, but also physical. When you are no longer attached to the I, you will no longer be driven by greed, anger, or fear in life. You will not be afraid of loss, nor will you suffer when things do not go as planned. Instead, you will live a life of peace, freedom, and non-attachment. This is a natural process, one of growth and self-discovery. And within this process, you will find that each moment is an opportunity for renewal, for letting go, and for living fully. You will realize that everything is impermanent, and that includes the suffering you may feel. When you stop clinging to the past or worrying about the future, you can live fully in the present, experiencing the beauty of life in its purest form. Buddhism teaches that the path to liberation is the path of letting go. But this letting go is not a reckless abandonment of everything. It is a subtle act of understanding the nature of all things, of releasing the hold on our attachments, and of letting go naturally within the soul. When we no longer fear change, when we no longer cling to the past, we step onto the path of true freedom. And when you have truly learned to let go, you will realize that liberation does not come from running away from pain, but from embracing it, from seeing it as a natural part of life. It is in this acceptance that you find true peace and serenity in your soul. In the end, when you let go of all fears, all psychological burdens, you will experience liberation. You will no longer be tied to memories, to negative emotions, but will live in absolute freedom. That is when you truly find peace within yourself, and nothing can shake you. This freedom is not something external, but the result of an internal transformation. When you understand the nature of impermanence, when you learn to let go, you will no longer be controlled by anything, but will live fully in every moment. The peace that comes with letting go is unlike any other. It is not a fleeting or external kind of peace, but an internal state that grows deeper with every breath. It is the realization that you are no longer enslaved by your own mind, by your thoughts, your ego, or your past. When you embrace impermanence and non-attachment, life begins to flow effortlessly, like a river that moves freely, unaffected by rocks or obstacles. This does not mean that life becomes devoid of challenges or hardships. Quite the opposite. The difference lies in how we relate to those challenges. Instead of viewing obstacles as personal affronts or as threats to our well-being, we begin to see them as opportunities for growth, as moments where we can practice letting go even more fully. Every difficulty becomes a chance to release attachment, to embrace change, and to live in the present. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness is often emphasized as the key to this freedom. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in each moment, without judgment or expectation. It is the practice of seeing things as they truly are, without the distortions of the ego or the biases of past experiences. Through mindfulness, you begin to notice how often your mind clings to the past, how often it projects fears about the future, and how often it resists the natural flow of life. By bringing attention to the present, you can slowly begin to dissolve the grip of the ego, because you will see that everything in the present moment is fluid, temporary, and ever-changing. There is no need to hold on to anything, no need to resist anything. When you can truly live in the now, you stop fighting against the tides of life, and instead, you learn to flow with them. The ultimate freedom that comes from letting go is the freedom from the need to control. Most of our suffering arises from trying to control what is uncontrollable. We try to hold on to relationships, to possessions, to images of ourselves, all because we fear the unknown, we fear change. But when we let go of the need to control, we begin to experience the true meaning of liberation. Liberation does not mean an absence of care or compassion for others. On the contrary, it allows for deeper, more authentic connections with others. When we are not attached to our own ego or expectations, we can approach others with true compassion, seeing them as they truly are, not as projections of our own desires or fears. In this way, letting go brings not just freedom for ourselves, but the ability to interact with the world in a way that is open, authentic, and loving. This process of letting go is gradual. It is not something that happens overnight, but rather a constant practice. You may find that as you let go of one thing, another will arise that needs to be released. The key is to not judge yourself for these attachments, but to simply notice them and gently let them go. Every time you let go, you take a step closer to the freedom that lies within you. The true power of letting go comes when you realize that it is not about abandoning everything, but about freeing yourself from the false sense of control and attachment. When you let go, you are not losing something. You are gaining everything. You are gaining the ability to live fully in the present, to experience each moment as it is, without the interference of past hurts or future anxieties. As you continue on this path, you will discover that the more you release, the more spacious your heart becomes. The more you let go, the more you make room for peace, joy, and love to enter your life. You will no longer be burdened by the past, nor worried about the future. You will live in a state of constant renewal, ever present, ever free. True liberation is not an escape from life, but a deeper engagement with it. It is not the avoidance of pain, but the embrace of the impermanence of all things. It is the recognition that in letting go, we become one with the flow of life itself. We cease to resist the inevitable, and in doing so, we find ourselves in harmony with the universe. And in this harmony, we discover the greatest truth, that we were never truly bound by anything to begin with. The chains we thought held us were of our own making, and the key to our freedom was always within our grasp. By letting go, we return to our true nature, boundless, free, and at peace. As we continue down this path of letting go, we come to understand something deeply transformative. We are not defined by our attachments, nor by our fears, nor by our past. The more we release, the more we realize that our true nature is not something fixed or confined, but something vast, open, and limitless. It is not bound by the narrative of our lives, nor by the identity we have carefully constructed for ourselves over the years. Buddhism teaches that our suffering comes from our identification with these fleeting aspects of our lives. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are, the roles we play, the labels we carry, they are all transient. By holding on to them, we imprison ourselves in a limited view of who we are. But when we let go, we begin to see ourselves as we truly are, a dynamic, ever-evolving presence in the world, not confined by any single moment or story. This realization is not always easy to come by. The ego fights back, clinging to its sense of self, to its familiar comfort zones. But as we persist, as we continue to practice letting go, we begin to see the truth behind our fears and attachments. we begin to realize that the more we hold on, the more we are weighed down by the past. And when we release those burdens, we discover a lightness, a freedom that we never thought possible. The process of letting go is an act of profound self-love. It is not about rejecting our experiences or denying our pain. Rather, it is about accepting them fully without attachment. It is about acknowledging that our pain is a part of our journey, but it does not define us. By letting go of our suffering, we make space for healing, for growth, and for the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. True liberation is not the absence of challenge or hardship. It is the ability to face those challenges with an open heart, without fear or resistance. It is the ability to meet each moment, whether joyful or painful, with equanimity, knowing that everything is temporary, everything is a lesson, and everything is part of the flow of life. When we live in this way, we experience a peace that transcends external circumstances. This peace comes from within, from a deep understanding that we are not separate from life, but are one with it. We are not isolated beings struggling against the world, but integral parts of the greater whole. We are not here to conquer life, but to dance with it, to flow with it, to learn from it. As we let go, we come to realize that we are the ones who have been holding ourselves back. The chains that have bound us were never outside of us. They were of our own creation. And once we release them, we can experience the fullness of life, unencumbered by the past or the future. We become present, fully alive in the moment, and open to whatever comes next. The more we let go, the more we awaken to the beauty of life in its purest form. We no longer need to seek external validation or approval, for we find validation within ourselves. We no longer need to cling to outcomes or results, for we trust in the flow of life. And as we move through the world with this newfound freedom, we inspire others to do the same. The process of letting go is an ongoing journey. It is not a destination, but a way of living, a way of being. Every moment offers an opportunity to let go, to release the past, and embrace the present. And each time we do, we step further into the freedom that is our birthright. In the end, we realize that the more we let go, the more we come home to ourselves. We discover that we are not our thoughts, our past, or our ego. We are the awareness that witnesses all of these things, the silent observer that is always present, always free. And it is in this realization that true liberation lies. By letting go, we are not losing anything. We are gaining everything. We are gaining the freedom to be who we truly are, without the weight of the past or the fear of the future. We are gaining the peace that comes from knowing that everything is as it should be, that we are exactly where we need to be, and that we are enough. In this space of letting go, we discover the most profound truth of all, that we are already whole, already free. There is nothing more to seek, nothing more to prove. We are simply here, in this moment, experiencing the wonder of life as it unfolds. And in this simple truth, we find peace, joy, and boundless freedom.